happy to be back, guys. I'm just so happy to be back. I had to go on my own personal journey, and I'm definitely grateful for everyone's patience who support my channel, support my causes, support, what I stand for. And if you stand with me, just know that I stand with you. It's a huge shift when it comes to just affordable housing, assistance for those of us who our lower income or our middle class income. That's most of the essential workers. That's most of the people you see working at restaurants. That's a lot of like, depending on what position, that's just a lot of the essential workers in general, right? Um, so there's been a uptick in the prices of buying a home and the prices of renting a home. Just to exist lately has been super expensive, right? Like since May of 2022, the cost of shelter has increased 5.5%. Food has increased 10.1%. Electricity increased 12%, and gasoline 48.7%. So we've all been pretty affected by one increase or another, whether it be gasoline, food, and stuff like that. Um, Me personally, this is very concerning for me because there's a lot of people I know, and there's just a lot of people in general. Like, even if it doesn't apply to you, have a little empathy and compassion to think about other people. There's a lot of people who depend on affordable housing. They depend on things such as like food assistance. They depend on, things to help them pay their bills because they're only making a certain amount of money, and then they have to cover other utilities. They have to, not all of us are dealt cards of fortune in this lifetime. Whether you want to be the person and be like, oh, they didn't work hard enough. They didn't. No, like on some just humane stuff, not all of us are dealt the proper cards to even be able to afford to go to college, to be able to afford to buy a home, to be able to afford to do those things. So what I'm going to talk about today, and what I am talking about today, is something that is important. It's something that affects everyone. Keep in mind the universal law of oneness. If it affects that person, it's gonna affect you some way somehow. So to just think you're in this bubble of like, oh well, I have a roof over my head, it doesn't affect me. Good luck with that. The increases in prices has been causing a huge uptick in homelessness, to the point where homeless shelters across the country are reporting a sudden increase in the numbers of people looking for help as they struggle to cover their basic needs, such as food and stuff like that. And who does this mainly affect? It affects single parents, single mothers, single fathers, because there are single fathers out there. We don't give attention, but single mothers, single fathers, younger people, college people who literally spend all of their money into like their classes. Um, this uptick in prices of everything, but especially housing, it's just something that's been really affecting people, negatively. Like me myself, I've seen people who had to live in cars, live in motels, and just being in that position where it's like I can't even help. It really hurts, but at least I can get the word out there and let people know. There's no way that this person and that person should be owning two homes, three homes, and there's thousands of people out there who's homeless. Like, it's just the way in which we think. We need to reprogram.
There's someone homeless in Washington, D.C.
And these
If
are the
there's
words of
homelessness,
Tupac
and he has
Shakur,
the
which I
White House,
really
which has
agree with.
1,000 rooms, why can't he take some of them people off the street and put them in his White House? Because he doesn't want to get dirty. The White House would be a little tainted.
Everyone knows at least one home renter. Like, not all of us have people who have bought their houses, right? And even if you do, that's fortunate for you. That's great for you. But there's a lot of people, probably more than half the people in this country, who rent their homes. And pretty much what we're seeing is an increase in rent for numerous reasons. One, there's not enough homes to keep up with today's population. That's just out of everyone's control, point blank, period, right? We've been noticing just a huge uptick in population over the course of years. We can't really control that. But another thing that's been causing the housing market to be so expensive is financial firms competing with families to buy homes. Now, if you know anything about financial firms or just like, big corporations, they can bully families into like having no other choice but to like give over their homes because they communicate to the landlords as soon as they see the house listing, and then they offer straight cash. And because this is a group of people, they're able to get that cash right then and there. Of course, their credit is perfect because it's under a corporation, and it's just like competing with a corporation and a family. 9 times out of 10, if a landlord is trying to feed their family, and all these landlords around the country trying to feed their family, guess who they're going to sell these homes to? These firms are not only buying like one house and being like, okay, I'm gonna rent it out, make money. They're being quite greedy. They're buying blocks of homes. They're buying a whole bunch of homes, and all of those families that live in those homes, unless they're like filthy rich, they're forced to move. Either they're forced to pay a super high mortgage or super high rent, or they're forced to move. Like it's that's been happening a lot, and it's just very like emotional for me. Like, we all have had a hard time in some way after the lockdown, right? But none of us would have thought that it would ever get to this, where it's like it's food shortages, water shortages, right? Let's talk about it. It's housing shortages. It's just a lot of things going on to where even if it doesn't affect you, it affects maybe your family member. It affects maybe your friend. It affects all of these other people, and it's just like, where are all these people gonna go? You know what I'm saying? Like, are they gonna be on the street? Are these kids gonna be forced into things like, illegal work? Are they gonna, And this is what happens, right? When people with money is just like, you know what? I want this, right? They get it. But at the same time, it's up to us as a people to notice these things and to speak up against it, to at least inform those we love against it, right? It's best to be informed rather than to not know at all and to think everything's okay. According to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, every $100 increase in rent produces a 9% increase in homelessness. So this is like huge. And this was like reported 2022. Getting to the point where essential workers, people who you depend on to get your coffee, people who you depend on to get your car washed, people who you depend on to even fix your car, they don't even have a place to live. They're living in their workplaces. They're living in their cars. They're living in motel rooms. It's like they're having to go through all of that low vibrational energy. So how do you think it's going to affect you? How do you think it's going to affect the services that they put into fixing your car, the services that they put into painting your walls, the services that they put into making your food? All of that energy is going back into you, back into your body. We're all affected by this. This is just the start, honestly, guys. Like, this is just the start of what's to happen. And the only solution is to be informed and to stick together some way, somehow, It's easier said than done to just be like, oh, yeah, don't let financial firms buy up your homes and, sell it to families. That's kind of unrealistic because these people also need their money, right? The community is being bullied, right, by people who are more powerful than them, people who have more resources than them. I just wanted to make a quick but heartfelt video as to what I've been noticing in the housing crisis and just in general. I just feel so bad for all of those out there, who's struggling with the increases of prices in housing, the increased price of gasoline. Like, there's people who's struggling to find their way to and from work, where the only place really where they make their money, they're struggling to make it to and from there because gas is so high. It really weighs on a person's sanity, and it weighs on a person's mental health, to have all of these increases of prices, but it's not like we're getting paid more. It's not like, depending on what type of cards you were dealt, it's not like it's going to be the most easiest for you to necessarily like cover all your expenses nowadays, right? So thank you all for listening. If you feel called to leave a comment of support, no negativity, no negative energy, but if you feel called to maybe a possible solution or your take on this situation, leave a comment. You can reach out to me via Instagram or whatever the case may be. Let's come together, guys. Let's figure out a solution some way, somehow, to where we can at least like help each other out, so hopefully this video reaches those it needs to reach, so like You are not by yourself. If you're homeless right now, if you're struggling to cover food, all of that, bro, a lot of us are. Like, a lot of us are going through it, and it's not your fault, you know? Like, hold on just a little bit longer, you know? I want you to know you're not by yourself, and I actually do care. And I'm sure if I care, there's a lot of other people who care. So, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to Key's Mind, where I discuss ideas and just topics that inspire me and interest me. And hopefully, through hearing what I have to say, it inspires you all to have conversations and to figure out solutions. Don't forget to like and to subscribe.
I feel as though I'm cheated because instead of me fulfilling my prophecy, I have to start one. Instead of me, doing a good job and carrying on the empire, I have to build one.